Well, let's at least begin. First of all, hello everybody. My name is Paul St. Peter. Oh, you've heard of me. Great. I played the role of Sorbet in Dragon Ball Super.
Well, hello. I am Meredith McCoy, and I have played Android 18 in Dragon Ball, all of them except for one, because I was out of the country. And I played the voice of both blue hair and blonde hair Launch in Dragon Ball. And every once in a while, Marin. I don't know my own daughter. I'm not sure who actually ended up. I feel like it's played by 85 people, and I was one of them at one point. So.
Yeah, I was just telling Meredith that when I was asked to come in and do Dragon Ball Zero, which is what it was, they were going to be releasing it in Southeast Asia only, for whatever reason. Like I told you guys, whoever signs the check is right. So whoever signed the check decided they wanted to put it in Southeast Asia to begin with. But within about a month, I was here playing in the States, and so I got to hear some of the work. I do not know what the original Sorbet sounded like. I just made the voice up on the spot, so might have been me, might have been very different.
Well, I actually, funny enough, the way I got into Dragon Ball Z was, funny enough, Dr. Giraud. I was in theater at the time, and my director was Kent Williams, and he said, hey, they're doing this audition, you know, they're looking for girl voices, you should go and audition. It was Laura Bailey and I, and we were best friends and also in the business at the time, and so we went in and auditioned together for the voice of Android 18. And I tell everyone the only reason I booked it over Laura Bailey is because I look like her. So I think I was totally typecast. Yeah, they were like, yeah, she'd make a great Android 18. So you can thank Chris Sabat and Justin Cook for that. They were like, wow, she looks like her. So I've been voicing her for 22 years. I had no idea what I was getting into when I walked into that audition that day.
Yeah, it is so true. Many times people ask us, when you first did the show, do you think it was going to be the hit that it has become, or did you think it was going to just take off or something like that? We don't know. No. And a lot of it has to do with the marketing. One of the sweetest, cutest, most clever shows I've ever done, did when it was back in, still called Saban Studios. And this was called The Adventures of Zoe and Charlie. Cutest, funniest little animation. The script was terrible. It was wonderful. I was the narrator. I was known as the sage, and I would tell the story. And 25 episodes, 25 years it's been sitting on a shelf someplace. It is never, ever played anywhere. And yet we do sometimes these crappy things. They go out and they big release and whatever. What about Zoe and Charlie? It honestly is a process under which we have no control. Yeah, we are not part of the process, unfortunately. Understandably true, again, I don't sign the checks.
Yeah, I had no idea that Dragon Ball Z was going to be that huge. I think I had someone ask me, like, how did you know, when did you know that Dragon Ball Z had become like such a huge thing? Like, did you know that they had Dragon Ball Z on the Macy's Day Parade? And I was like, I didn't. I'm so clueless.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Linda's
let me
here.
go.
Sorry, I'm 5 minutes late.
Lord Frieza, you are late.
But I brought goodies.
Well, I ate all mine up, so there! We were just talking about when we do a production and whether it will take off or not. Oh, you had to have a clue. It's just such a wonderful show. When I began doing Kingdom Hearts, it was voiceover for a character on a game. And that was it. No idea where it was going to go, how long it would last. Same with Naruto. I've been doing Kurama, the nine-tailed demon fox, for about as long as I've been doing Zemnis, leader of organization 13. So these were about 16, 17 years ago. And they've kind of paralleled each other in terms of the success. But did any of us have a clue? No idea. Yeah, part of it is that we get up and do the job, and then we leave. And if you're smart, you forget about the show and move on to the next thing. I'm not always smart. Sometimes I think, oh, there's got to be another, there's got to be more, you know. If you're familiar with many of the live action shows on Netflix, there's a very, very funny show called Family Business. I play the part of the father, and this family of butchers with a business that is failing, butcheries going away, suddenly start growing marijuana. And they're telling us that there is another season coming. I've got my fingers crossed. It's super funny, super clever, and I have a wonderful character. I actually played the father, you know. So we have all these great things. The promise is very good there, but there are other projects. When they had me come in and play Sorbet, I thought, all right, whatever the release is, however long it's going to last, I just happen to know it's part of the Dragon Ball world, I guess you could call it. Went very well from what I understand. Everything's really done well, and the show is, you know, we're going on and on.
I would love to hear, Linda, how you got into Dragon Ball.
How I got into Dragon Ball was just a random audition. It was in the newspaper. It was in, that's how long ago that is. It was in the newspaper.
Back when we had newspapers.
Yeah, back when we had newspapers. And I had an agent and everything then, but this was my friend found in the newspaper, and she urged me to go with her. I didn't want to, because I didn't want to drive to Fort Worth. And then, but she talked me into it. And I went to the audition, and we had to imitate everyone's voices. That's what we did, just imitated voices. They had a little tape recorder. It was a tape recorder. And we listened to the voices. And then we went into the little booth, and they said, now remember those voices. And they gave us lines to do with those voices we memorized. And I went and forgot about it. Like you said, it's the best thing to do after you audition, right? And then I guess a few weeks later, Chris Sabat called me and said, we'd like you to play the part of Frieza. And I was like, oh, okay. Which one's Frieza? The one with the gravelly voice. Oh, good. And I said, well, I don't really remember, I don't know much about Frieza. You will. So that's how I got into it. And so I was in there at the very beginning, and it was like a little family. I used to bring everyone cookies. They called me Mom. And of course my son got into it, and he plays Tian. He plays other parts. So he'd be there, and he'd call himself the enforcer to guard his mom. Which is so cute, because you guys know John's cute. So anyway, that's how I got into it. And I'm glad I did. And I had no idea it would get this big either, but we're so blessed.
So blessed.
And it's the best part I like is meeting people. I really do. I just enjoy it. It's something I never expected. And I just feel very blessed and very happy about it. And I know Meredith is.
I for sure do. Yes.
That's wonderful because we've done our lines of dialogue, and you can watch and listen and say, well, such a scene or this battle or something like this. And that's all out there, it can't be changed. We get to come in here and talk to you guys and your questions, and then we step up to the microphone and get behind the story, or behind the scenes, as it were, and find out the things that you wouldn't be able to know just by knowing the show, just by listening to it.
Yeah, so true. I think it's neat to hear people who are like, you know, this was my childhood. You know, I would run home off the bus, and I would go and watch Dragon Ball Z, and you know, it's just to hear the stories of how people, you know, it's affected people over the years and the memories that they have makes it all really special, because it's no longer just a line in a booth. You know, you actually get to be a part of people's lives, which is really amazing, and we wouldn't get to know that had we not get to come to these kinds of things and get to hear your stories a little bit. So.
And also, we learn so much from you.
Yeah.
About the shows and stuff that we have no clue about. So, in fact, all these major facts I know are from fans.
That's true.
So that's good.
Yeah, we always say that because most of the time, especially with walking in, blindly to the audition and not knowing what the storyline was, not knowing what the storyline was going to be, not knowing much about it, you just walk in and you have to trust your director. Because they have read the storyline a little bit, so they'll have to say, okay, in this scene, this is what's about to happen. And they'll give you a little bit of backstory, and then they'll say, okay, and here's your dialogue, and then you're just watching on the screen, trying to give the best performance, but really you have to trust your director because you're not always sure what's happening or the context of what's going on. So you really have to just jump in and go for it.
I like to call it on your mark, get set, act.
Yeah.
Because we will walk in and say, okay, let's see, okay, this battle just took place, that guy there got wounded, he came back when they thought he wouldn't, and go. That's about how much time they give you.
That's the truth.
Yeah. And I will say though, from the time that Linda and I started, probably too, we started out with tape. Like it wasn't digital. I feel like it was hard work back then. We gotta go now.
Yeah, videotape was the way I learned when I did my very first show, which is back in 1985 at Robotech, and it was on videotape. And they would rewind, you hear this,
Yes,
and all that.
exactly.
And it was before we had beeps.
Oh, before beeps.
Before beeps, yeah, that's how I go back to before
Very
beeps.
before beeps.
Because now the way it works, it goes beep, 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 you talk on what is the silent fourth beep. I learned by you starting the cue at 3 minutes, 17 seconds, and 4 frames, and you're finishing on 17 seconds and 19 frames. Now there are 30 frames per second. So I learned that way, which is why I'm so sharp even to this very day. I can look up at the screen, do all that stuff, and have it done. Because I'm from the old days. But those weren't the good old days. Boy, that we have beeps now, we have digital now, they can fix this and do that. Oh yeah, and when they move them around or compress them or whatever, it makes us a lot better,
Did you have the paper scripts?
Yes.
Yeah, we had paper scripts, so you had to look down and look up and look down and look up.
Yeah, on a
Memorize.
podium, you sit there and you the end of the scene, but your dialogue goes through, you do this. Keep talking,
Quietly.
look down, scan, yeah, you have to do that, and look down, scan, keep talking, scan, keep talking, scan, keep
Now
talking.
that was
And then they say, we have to do that take again because I heard the paper rustle.
Yes. Well, don't blame me, this paper's fault, You're fired.
That's right.
Yeah, the paper rustle. And then when the lines didn't fit, the mouth flaps. So then they'd have to write in there, right? So we'd have a pencil in the booth trying to rewrite the script at the.
That's right. We had to read our own writing.
Yeah. And it'd have to be all over the place. So that was the early days.
Right, the real line you're going to be doing.
Yes.
For sure.
I can't read my own notes.
For sure.
But yeah, so it was more difficult. It's easier now when you go in. And the studios are nicer and everything is nicer.
Yeah, early days it was a bank building, on top of a bank building.
A little booth.
Little tiny booth.
I used to
Down-
make Lysol. Did you too? Oh. That's another reason they call me Mom.
Well, and there are those stories to this day and still can be very effectively worked where you put moving blankets into the corner and you set up your sound wall and you make it very effective stuff. Sometimes I walked in and that was what was recorded and put on TV. So it was very, very, very primitive. I love it going to a studio now. It's $5 million is made for this, right? Now, at the beginning of COVID, a friend of mine moved in with me for a couple of months because he wasn't going to have a place to live. So I said, come on, just hang out and sleep in the living room, etc. He's a fellow voice actor, and he came and looked at my booth, and he said, my friend, you just saved yourself $6,000. This is amazing. And it's a closet.
Yeah.
4 feet by 5 feet. I got a good mic, a good DAW, digital audio workshop, like Audacity and things like that. And a very, a good, preamp. And my work has gone on TV, it's gone in movies, movies and things like that. I'm very happy it's like that, but I'm sorry. I still prefer to go into a studio because the trouble with recording me at home is I'll be in the
Engineer too.
well, that, but also there's me being recorded, and suddenly, what's that? Oh yeah, Roberto, my gardener, he's got a leaf blower going. He's in our scene. Or I live next to Van Nuys Airport, and so I get to get the police helicopters, the fire department helicopters. Everything goes overhead like that. So I'll tell them, I said, hold, and by the time it gets to, okay, you can go on. The thing about studios, no problem. Again, they spend millions of dollars to make these places. It's great, convenient. I don't have to wear shoes or at home. But it's so much better to go into a studio because they meant it to do all this wonderful stuff. I don't have to worry about it.
And they have a good snack room.
Yes. Oh.
They did before that.
No, the real reason, yeah, that's the real reason when it went to acting is not to make money, but craft services, free candy, baby.
Remember when they used to put out huge bowls of M&M's?
Yes, oh my God. And after Halloween, everybody who works in the studio that didn't give the candy away, you walk in, there's a table, just piles of lollipops and everything. Thanks, Do we actually get to work or do I just eat candy all day today?
Yeah.
I love this country.
That's true. I actually did my first remote studio not too long ago. But it was, I called Chris Sabat and said, how do I do this? And he's like, let me help you out. And so he called me and walked me through it, but he goes, Meredith, this could be a total disaster. He's like, you're in your daughter's closet. You have a SM, whatever that is. Like, that's my on a hotspot. This sounds like because I live out in the country, so we don't have like Ethernet. We don't have good internet, and there's nothing. So I was on a hotspot. So he's like, this could be a total recipe for a disaster. But he walked me through it, and thankfully, I was even able to like have the client in from Korea, the director from LA, all in my closet. So afterwards, I was.
It is a sense of, there is a sense of accomplishment. When you finish that up, when the internet didn't go down, their software that they are using on their end works on your laptop. When that all gets done,
Feel like a champion.
yeah, you do. You walk away like, okay, we can do this. And for me, my very first day, when I went into my booth, the very first day, I had 2 jobs with 2 different clients. So I finished the second job. It was a quickie little thing, but the 2 jobs together, less than an hour, more than paid for my entire booth and everything in it. So in one day, I thought, okay, it's all profit from now on, baby.
Yes, that's great. All right, let's ask a question. Let's think through favorite moments, like in the booth, in recording. You have a favorite, like either scene or most memorable time in the beginning.
Just any show? Or?
Any show.
Oh.
Just be. Doesn't have to be Dragon Ball. I know this is a Dragon Ball panel, but just.
When you guys will have a moment together.
A little moment from up here. Remote recording, favorites?
Or not remote. It could just be recording.
Oh,
moment.
just anytime?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Actually, this was kind of recent. Does anybody not know how Boruto is going? Be honest, I want to see some hands. There's one. Madara? Okay. All right. Okay, 2. All right. I'll just say, I don't want to ruin this, but I will say that on that day, I went to my car and I cried. The engineer and the director and I were all teary-eyed the whole session because we knew it was going to happen. I finished it up and I went to my car and I just cried. Because of the way it turned out. Again, I won't say anything further. But I know actors once in a while will say, well, I never get attached to the role, it's over. I finished it up, we're done, I'm going in, pardon my French, but BS, We get attached to these. And that one especially, I've been doing 16 or 17 years. And on the day it ends, oh yeah, for me.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Let's see. I think one of my most memorable moments with Android 18, actually, it was in the very beginning. I think in the beginning, it's just everything is so new. You just remember so much more even. But I'll never forget my first fight scene. And Chris Sabat asked me, he's like, as he was directing, he goes, okay, Meredith, have you ever been in a fight before? I'm like, no, I've never been in a fight before. He was like, well, you gotta make fighting noises. And I was like, well, and so I think I've said this before, but I was laughing because I was so uncomfortable doing it. I'd be like, ah! And then I would laugh after every take because I was embarrassed. And he was like, Meredith, you cannot do something awesome and then laugh after the take and ruin it. You gotta stop. And so I would get in trouble for that, which I just thought was hilarious. So anyway, that's one of my favorites.
I don't know, I probably had a lot, but in the beginning too, I didn't do the fight noises. Okay? No, because I mean, I did it, he taught me, but I mean, girls don't usually do that growing up.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe they do
all the
now.
gun noises. It's like girls when you do a gun noise, you're like, pow, pow.
Or all that.
You know,
All that, you know, we didn't usually do that. So I just went for it, tried it, and Chris said, that's pretty good. But he said, I'll teach you and you'll be a pro by the time, you know. And he did, he helped me along and I really got good at the noises. But he said, this is what he said, you gotta be meaner. He said, you've gotta be meaner. And he said, now I know that you are going through a divorce. I said, yeah. He goes, pretend it's your ex-husband up there. I said, okay. And all of a sudden, Frieza got really mean. And all of a sudden, Frieza was really making the fighting noises and all this stuff. And I had therapy. Frieza
see,
therapy.
A good director can bring that performance out. He knew exactly what to say. Oh yeah, as guys, we wrote the scene.
I know it. It's like,
That's just natural to us.
it
you know.
is.
yeah. If I said make a gun noise, you can come up with all kinds of
Yeah.
I'm ready because we ran around and, you know, in the old days you couldn't even buy guns, and I mean toy guns.
Yeah.
Nobody had the money, so this was your arm machine gun. We knew how to do all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, so fighting noises were a little bit of a stretch for me. And then all
Actually,
that,
they annoyed the girls when you did all that.
Yes, they did.
for sure.
She was walking away with this.
I know, that's why we didn't learn them.
Yeah, for sure. And then the also try not to laugh with the other types of noises that you have to make often, like the running noise or the setting down. Always, you know, the setting down noise, the push a box noise. You know, you just don't think
Jump
about
up,
those
jump
things.
down, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, in anime, especially in the old days of cartoons, before it was called anime and they still drew the pictures, 500 of them to get to 5 seconds of, airtime or whatever. The rule was if you saw movement, if you saw motion, you had to do something to cover it. Now, in animation, you will see in the script NIOJ. They put a reaction in for me to use because it was not in original Japanese. So they'll put NIOJ because somebody would do this. And it was dead silent. Now, we're saying, no, the audience will need to hear something, which is why the American ones go, okay. You see, that was not in the original Japanese, so we have to pick it up, you know. In cartoons in the old days, you had to keep everything active all the time because kids were watching and they were easily distracted, so you had to have noise and sound all the time. Some of the narration was written back in those days when you're looking at a building from a distance through a forest. Clearly there are no people there. Clearly there are no cars going by. But you have the narration of somebody talking over that because people will get distracted and just look away. Then you come to the inside of the building where the meeting is taking place, where they're having the talking, you see. That's what they had to do in the old days to cover that. One thing I love about Dragon Ball is they will have two people hovering, looking at each other, ready to fight, and there will be long periods of silence. I adore that. It's not the way I started.
That's great. we need a smile voice.
Smile.
Well, what's that sound like?
Smile?
Yeah, can you be
I never got
happy?
a smile noise.
Just recently, I was like,
Yeah,
it's a lot of.
Can we hear a smile, more smile in your voice? I don't know, can you?
Yes, that's my direction. But also the other thing is if you wore jewelry, or I used to wear overalls, or any of those things in the booth, they would do like if you're going to do fighting noises, and then I move too much, they're like, Meredith, we're picking up your clothes noises, or picking up your hearing noises, and so then you had to like not move so much or take off the jewelry.
Yeah, one of the hardest things when you're beginning is when you want to do combat noise, especially I would cover voices of boxers.
Oh wow.
So I'm in there bobbing and weaving and duck and stick and move and all the other things you do. And you have to stay on the mic, but you need to give that feeling that all that action is going on. That is very, very challenging. A lot of actors cannot do it. They will move and do all this stuff, as I like to describe, unfortunately, this is what the engineer hears. See what's happening? And they'll want to kill you, all right? So you have to stay on the mic, and as I like to put it, your stage as a voice actor is this big.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all the room
That's a
you
good
have.
point.
That's all the room you have, you know. But other, okay, wait. Yeah, I'm gonna draw back my sword and swing at him and duck. Oops. Luckily, the mic's in one place, but you have to stay in that one place too.
And that reminds me, I said at one point, do you remember when they had cameras in the booth?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I was like, they're going to use this for blackmail.
I know. I thought, why is there a camera here?
Because, yeah, I mean, because you can almost see a screen of yourself, and you just look so ridiculous when you're trying to make fighting noises and be still at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, they're going to use this. I know they are.
Probably watched him.
Probably, yes.
Those are outtakes, yeah. When they started putting the cameras in the booth, there was a technical reason for it. With a young actor that's just beginning, they needs to watch, and if he's doing this, and the mic's in one place, they see that and they can tell him. Still, now, when I was doing Wormmon in Digimon, I never really thought about how I looked. I was just doing the performance. But at one point, the engineer said, I love to watch you work. I said, what do you mean? I didn't know. And that's how I discovered that when I was doing the voice of Wormmon, I had this face. And the whole time it's like, I don't know, Ken. I don't want to bother anybody. And so I've got a 2-hour session of something like this. That face is kind of like the character is. But important now, they actually put a camera in, and for video games, they are actually filming this part. Yeah. That's what they're doing. That's how they're now animating this. And how do I know this also?
Okay, that makes sense.
Better than what they had before, because in the old days, it's like Resident Evil 2. You would hear the same, Jim, I'll see you in about 10 minutes, okay? But the line, the face was like this. And that's how Kingdom Hearts started. You know? And they actually do that where they animate this and fit it to the sound. Now I know this also because I saw a still shot of Xemnas, and his jaw down, his mouth open, and this tooth is crooked. And I saw that picture of Xemnas, and there was my little tiny crooked tooth, just a little bit was in there, so they got me. You know?
Have you ever been physically sore from fight scenes?
Oh yes.
I actually, the first time I did like a huge fight scene, my abs were sore from the inside out. I was like, I don't know how you do that, but like if you're doing it right, you're supposed to be using your diaphragm. And so I literally the whole next day was so sore from doing so much. And it sounds like.
I remember being really worn out. Like I would come out of there and feel like it wasn't a fight. I probably looked like it too.
Yeah, if
do
we'd
you have
like
a question?
maybe have you guys step up to the microphone. Are we hot on there? Audience member? Who wants to try? Yay, somebody from the front row up with it. Do a test on there, please. A little more, please.
See, now you're seeing what it's like as a voice actor.
Yeah,
Test, 1, 2, 3.
They can't hear you.
He spent 10 minutes telling you what he wants for the scene, and he was never on. Hello, anybody in there? Trent? No. Yeah, actually,
Is it not up? The red thing is-
You bring the mic down.
Not the whole set. I love yours, it's thorough.
Sorry. There you go.
She's a thorough there.
It's here. It is on. Two.
But it's not. No.
He's dead.
Bad.
Two. No, that's me.
Just give them a mic. Why don't you, we can just repeat the question, I guess. You just, because we can hear you.
Yeah.
Let's do that. There you go.
If you guys were to choose a line from Dragon Ball, like a line from your characters, what would be your favorite line?
So what would our favorite line be from a scene we did from our character?
Yes, like if you were to choose one.
Okay.
well, I'll go first. You know, when I mentioned that we get attached to our roles, they didn't tell me on the day I was going to die. I kind of insist, please let me know when it's going to be done, you know, I can prepare myself. So I went in and I only had 3 cues. And it was, ugh! And my favorite, Lord Frieza. And then, ugh. But the way I said, Lord Frieza, as he shot me, and I was completely surprised by it. That was my favorite.
That's your mine was probably just, it's one of the more popular ones, so it goes, how sad to work so hard for so little.
I do not know my favorite because Frieza has so many good lines. Should I give you my husband's favorite? Papa goes so weak.
All right, who else? Who has a question?
Questions, come on up. Don't be afraid.
We're not scary. We're not villains.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm not a villain this day.
Oh, we got one over here.
Yay.
Did you have any people in your life that inspired you to get into voice acting?
Did we have people in our lives that inspired us to get into voice acting? For me, it was the people that said they'd pay me.
For me, when I was a kid, I always liked doing voices. I always liked doing stories and being everyone. And I had that old-fashioned tape recorder with the reels on each side. So I would do all these things, and my dad he was like, yes, that is so good. And he'd play it for everyone he could and say, this is what my daughter does, and she's good at it. And my dad was so sweet and so kind, and he was a singer and so am I, but he was like my biggest fan. He even watched Yu Yu Hakusho. he loved Genkai, he loved the tournaments. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
So I did, my parents both, and then my parents both sent me to this private women's college that had a really good theater, communication, music department, so. And they paid more for that, just to, you know, let me do what I wanted to do. So, I I was really fortunate.
It's amazing. My stepdad had always been a disc jockey for radio stations, like growing up my whole life. And so from the time I was little, I was always going in and doing liners for him. You're listening to my dad, John McCoy. And so I did that for years. But mostly because I loved to sing so much, I loved to imitate any sort of style. So I feel like with the singing thing, it really helped, transfer over to the voice actor. I've noticed a lot of voice actors are actually singers because of how much they have had to learn tone and quality on that stuff. So I always thought one day I would have been a Disney character or something like that because I totally love to, be like, I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know something's starting right now. I was like, come on, make it feel. I was like, let me be a Disney character. So that I got to start in cartoons, even though it wasn't Disney, it was anime. It has been just a blast to get to use my voice in any way and have a laugh with
The best. Someone else.
Oh, also with singing, I want to say you learn how to place your voice.
You do,
In different-
yeah.
You can place different ranges in different places.
Yeah, totally, because I don't sing like that normally.
That so much helps with anime, though.
It does.
Oh, you bet. Just the support mechanism, knowing, from my background, I sang. I was with the opera company in San Diego.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Learning also as a speaker, as a dialectician and linguist and all the other things I've studied. One of the biggest things I try to teach everyone from the most green, the first beginning student to anyone with any experience, always remember that breathing and voice is a matter of release, not push.
That's good.
You learn that when you take a deep breath and you speak. It makes it effortless. Shakespeare, it doesn't matter what you do. That background as a singer is so important because you also learn that thing, how far down the tank am I? I'm about 3/4 of the air is gone, time to take a breath.
That's so true.
And when you get good at that as a speaker, nobody ever hears you breathe. It's effortless when you do that. But that background with, just knowing the way the support goes and knowing where to place your voice and knowing what your own pitch sounds like, invaluable, absolutely invaluable.
Yes, and it's so good to study voice for your vocal health. For a long time, I was singing multiple times a week, and then I'd have to go and do a 4-hour session, and you've got to know how to control and do it correctly so you're not hurting yourself, so you can keep talking and,
And the
be
thing
able to
is,
sing
you
the
can
weekend.
feel. You can feel if you've got it placed in the wrong place.
Yeah, you
And
can.
then you change it.
Yeah, that's true. It helps for fighting noises too.
Yeah.
To last longer.
It all comes down to the fighting.
It's just about the fighting noises, guys. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah, so as a shortcut into voiceover, work on your fighting noises.
Yeah.
You'll be good,
I actually just booked a role recently that was literally no lines, just fighting.
And I did that zombie devil on Chainsaw Man. So they called me and said, can you still scream and all that stuff? I said, I think so. Oh, wow, was it ever?
Yeah.
Chainsaw Man.
Any other questions?
Hey, I think everyone in here should do a fighting noise at the same time.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah, how about a good,
Yeah, and do a countdown. We'll all do it.
Okay, yes.
Is everyone ready?
Now remember, deep breath, release it, and 3, 2, 1. You could be Japanese. Oh, hey.
Let's do another sound. What can we do? What do you guys want to do?
Running noise.
That's
You guys
fine.
get to do some running noises.
What
Okay.
noise? Okay.
3, 2, 1. Ow! That was my toe. That was the end of the season. Very good, you guys.
Hey! Oh, I know. Is this the end?
Oh, no, we got
Oh,
it.
let's do another. Let's do another. Kind of a. What do you guys want to do? A noise or a line or what? A dead scream. Well, I'll be real loud though. We'll do a quiet dead
Quiet.
scream. But everyone's got to do it then, okay?
That's right.
Okay.
Deep breath. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Sometimes I want the death screen and then gurgling blood at the
Yeah, I
end.
got you.
Another question? Question. Yes.
Yes, when you hear Dummy from like BBC and Bridge and stuff like that, do you feel flattered or anything when you hear him doing it?
So a little more volume, please.
When you hear people like from BBC and Bridge on YouTube and stuff like that, speaking your character, do you feel flattered or anything like that? Or
Do you feel flattered by the abridged version?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's, something is the greatest,
Oh, compliment. Oh, like to.
Yeah, imitating.
thank you,
Yeah.
imitation is
Imitation.
the sincerest form of flattery.
I think it's funny. I mean, I just see clips. I don't watch it all the time, but we also did a night before Christmas reading with all the freezes, and Martin was in it too. So he was in it too. But we did it for Chris Ayers. We did like, and Chris was there. We did like a fundraiser, and it was really fun. We all did a line from the night before Christmas. And Japanese Frieza, Mr. Nakayo came in at the end. Even Mr. Nakayo. So, and sometimes Crystal, his girlfriend, will put it on the internet or Twitter or something at Christmas time. So she might do it again. Because it's really cool.
I actually have never seen the abridged version, so I need to hear it, I guess. Is Android 18 in the abridged? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go listen, and then we'll see if I'm offended or not.
I think one of the things I liked when he said his favorite cake was cake karat. Oh, and one time in that, he does the more voice like Chris Ayers, but one time he went into like try to do my voice. Did you guys ever listen to that?
No.
Oh, it was hilarious. Then he goes, this isn't gonna work. And he told me that really at first he was going to do my voice, but it was too hard on his voice.
Yeah. No, you do so good at that.
Yeah, make sure, as those of you who want to explore and try to do this, if it hurts, stop. That's your body saying no. And I talked about that on my panel. Trying to do things like, I talked about my monster voices. I know how to breathe through that. I know the tricks. I can do it for 4 and 5 hours, days in a row, and all that stuff. It hurts me a little bit. For you, you'll have blood coming out of your ears. And yeah, so don't do things like that. Just don't hurt yourself.
And even a lot of fighting scenes and fighting noises and all that kind of stuff, we take lots of breaks and drink lots of water and have tea and the whole thing, and I'll take breaks in between so that my voice doesn't get too tired.
And do this.
Oh.
And there's a break in it, if there's a break in it, you know that part of your voice isn't working.
Yeah, and also, the smartest directors, the more we do this, they get better at too. They always wait until the end to do the fighting.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do all the other dialogue, all the other whatever, and then that part in the end, especially when you have a death scream.
The death scream is what you usually wait for at the end.
Then you're finished and you can go home and rest and drink tea, whatever.
Not talk for a while.
Yeah, not talk for a while. Best advice.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
All right, any last questions?
Anybody else? Question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you ever bust out your character voices like Kramer a lot of situations like the voicemail or a geek or something like that?
Oh, never.
I have not.
Well, I used to do it a lot to my dogs because they would hear me doing cameos and stuff in the other room, and I didn't want them to be creeped out, so I would talk to them like that. But two of my dogs passed away this year. My golden retriever and my part husky, part lab. But my part husky, part lab is so smart, so I taught him freeze a face. And I could go like this, and he made the most. Oh.
No, we didn't.
Oh, I'll have to show you the picture. But anyway, so he could have been freezing I would talk, and sometimes I notice I do kind of sometimes talk like it if someone asks me, if it's me and I'm Teresa, I start talking like that to them, or, oh, I did do it through a drive-thru once.
That's
Ordering something. And I think they thought I was crazy.
My husband does want to do like Instagram video reels or whatever else of me telling the kids to like do the dishes, and if they don't, then I like blast them. He's like married to Android 18, life with Android 18, because he has that on his Instagram that he's married to Android 18. So
That's a good idea.
I know. See?
Occasionally, as I'm driving about, if I'm lost, I'll say, "Pardon me,
Yes.
you know, the way to Winston Street. Thank you so much. Thank you." Oh,
They probably just think you really talk like that.
oh yeah, and they just, he's an Englishman in America and he's lost. So, otherwise, they say, "Oh, you're American, you're supposed to know you're going, get out of here," you know. Pardon me, I say. Oh, by the way, in order to be in Dragon Ball Z, you don't have to have blonde hair and blue eyes. Look at us up here.
That's funny. Yes, that's funny. I'm thinking about that. All right, last question.
Last question.
Anything you want to know?
Yes, it doesn't have to be a question. You can just make an observation or ask us something.
I had somebody, I signed something for them, and afterwards they said, I was going to ask you for your number, but then I saw that you gave it to me. It was 18 on the thing. I was like, good one!
That was a good one.
I know, I was impressed.
One more. Anyone? Yes. Going. Stop. In the green.
And it's out in public when you're not using your voice like at the drive-thru or anything.
Recognized out in public. One thing I like about being a voice actor is
You
it's
don't
very,
ever know it's you.
you're completely anonymous.
Yeah.
It's happened to me a couple of times. Oddly enough, since we started wearing masks, I'm even less recognizable. But somebody probably saw me at an anime or something, or saw me on a website. And go, "You're that guy, right? You're the guy."
It's so funny. You're the guy.
Yeah, that makes me turn around and look for that other guy, you know. Well, which guy are you talking about? I said, the voices. I'm a voice actor. "You're Paul St. Peter." I said, "Yes." "How could you tell?"
That's awesome.
Sunglasses. You're like you're ready to rob a bank, you know.
It's true.
I never heard you talk.
Maybe that's what it was. I worked at a church for a long time, and I had somebody come up to me and go, "Why didn't you tell us you were famous?" And I was like, "Because I'm so famous, I would have to tell you? Like, obviously not that famous." Someone was like, "You've been here this whole time, and you never told us you were famous." And I'm like, "Sorry, I'm married and I'm famous."
I'm the same way. The church I go to, I never told anyone either. And then people started finding out.
Yeah.
And they were the same way.
Yeah,
And it's so cute though.
I know, it is funny.
That's the strange things about the internet. You'll get to know somebody, whether it's through church or whatever, another group or something, and you're just that person, that guy, right?
Thank God.
Eventually, though, somebody's going to go ahead and look up and find your name, and they go, "Oh my God, are you the one that, are you blah, blah, blah?" Until a few years ago, I did murder mysteries with a couple of friends. And I would go out, find whatever place, put on my funny costume. I would talk like Johnny 2 times Keka, you know, because once ain't enough, right, you know? And so I take on these characters. Well, the lady that runs the thing, the next time I saw her, she goes, "I didn't realize when I'm looking on, you're a celebrity." My voice is.
Yeah,
My anime character.
my anime character is, yeah, I'll do workshops for songwriting. And so we always, when I'm having everybody introduce themselves, they're all coming there to learn songwriting, and so we'll do a fun fact. And so everybody goes around and shares a fun fact about themselves, and I wait till the end, and my fun fact is that I do the voice of Android 18 in Dragon Ball Z, and you should see their faces. It's always like, I thought you were the songwriter, not a voice actor, so it's always my fun favorite fact.
Yeah, when we wear the product, and I like to, I have several t-shirts that have the nine-tailed demon fox on it, so people will notice that. And the sleeves on each side say Naruto, but in Japanese. So it's very striking. So, oh, love the shirt. I said, thank you, I do the voice. No, you don't, you know. Then I do it for them. And for me, it's a way of keeping the product going. Keeping this in front of everybody. And they do, they like to meet the person.
My husband kind of does that, with me, he tells people, and so he forces me into it. But I also did murder mysteries for a long time, and so the director said, this time, your character, when you start laughing, I want you to go into the freezer line. So here I am, you walk through the people, the murder mystery, and I'm doing my character, and I just says, and a lot of but some of the people are like, Frieza.
Maybe time for one more. Anyone? Anyone? I can see you out there. You're burning, but you just don't want to raise your hand.
Don't be scared. You got Cruella de Vil.
It was a role I was up for. Anybody know Castlevania? Yeah, I auditioned for the role of Alucard. Yeah, and as you know, I didn't get it. And no complaints about the actor that did the role. It's just, it's such a terrific role. I would like to do that. If they ever redo it, give it a shot.
I just want a singing role. I want a Disney character. Give me a Disney character. Come on, just for my childhood dreams.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Come and visit us. Thank you. Yamacon on in 2023, yes?